What if the car decision you thought was saving you money is actually the one quietly draining your wealth over time? Most people walk into a dealership focused on one number, the monthly payment. And dealerships know that. They've built their entire sales process around that number. Keep the monthly low enough and most people will sign almost anything. But the monthly payment is not the cost of the car. It's not even close. And the gap between those two things, between what you pay every month and what you actually spend over the lifetime of that vehicle, is where most Americans are losing thousands of dollars without ever realizing it happened. Today, we are going to settle the leasing versus buying debate the right way. Not with opinions, not with car influencer takes, with actual math. We're going to follow two people through the same decision, track every dollar they spend over 10 years, and find out who actually came out ahead when the numbers are done. And I'll warn you right now, the answer is probably not what you're expecting. Stay with me because about halfway through this video, something happens to the math that almost nobody talks about, and it changes the entire picture. Let's set the stage. According to Experian's most recent State of the Automotive Finance Market report, the average monthly payment on a new car loan in the United States has crossed $730. The average monthly lease payment sits around $590. That gap, roughly $140 a month, is exactly the argument the leasing industry makes every single day. Lower payment, newer car, no repair headaches. It sounds like a straightforward win. But we're not going to evaluate this based on how it sounds. We're going to evaluate it based on what it costs. Meet two people, we'll call them Chris and Amber. They are both 28 years old. They both earn $62,000 a year. They both need a reliable car, and they both walk into the same dealership on the same afternoon looking at the same vehicle, a 2025 midsize sedan with a sticker price of $32,000. Same trim, same color, same options. The only difference is what they decide to do next. Chris decides to lease. His deal looks like this. $12,500 due at signing, $309 per month for 36 months, 10,000 miles per year allowance with a standard wear and tear policy. The salesperson walks Chris through the numbers in about 4 minutes. Low payment, full warranty the entire time, brand new car every 3 years, and at the end, he just hands the keys back with no further obligation. Clean, simple, stress-free. Chris drives off the lot feeling like he played this exactly right. Amber decides to buy. She puts $3,500 down, finances the remaining balance over 60 months at 7.1% interest, which is actually slightly below the current national average according to Bankrate's 2024 auto loan data. And her monthly payment comes out to $562. That is $243 more than Chris every single month. Standing in the dealership parking lot, doing the quick math in her head, Amber feels the weight of that difference immediately. Chris seems like the obvious winner from where she's standing. Here's the question nobody asks in that parking lot. Winner over what time period? Because that answer changes everything. For the first 3 years, Chris genuinely has the better experience. His car is new. His payment is lower. Everything mechanical is covered under the manufacturer warranty. No surprise repair bills, no anxiety when a warning light comes on, no calling around for mechanic quotes at 9 in the morning. His total costs for those 36 months are $2,500 at signing plus 36 payments of $319. That's $32,984 total out of pocket. Amber, over the same 36 months, has spent $3,500 down plus 36 payments of $562. That's $23,732. Chris has spent nearly $10,000 less than Amber in year 3. Anyone watching from the outside would hand Chris the trophy right now and walk away. But year 3 is exactly where the story turns. And this is the part that most people never sit down and actually trace through. Chris's lease ends. He goes back to the dealership and looks at his options. He can buy the car at its residual value, which was predetermined in his contract at the start, usually landing somewhere between $17,000 and $19,000 for a 3-year-old car that originally cost $32,000. He can walk away and find another car. Or he can do what the National Automobile Dealers Association reports about 75 to 80% of lessees actually do. He leases again. New model, new contract, $2,500 at signing, $319 per month, another 36 months. The cycle resets. The odometer goes back to 0. But the payment counter never stops. Amber at month 36 is in a completely different position. She still has 24 payments left on her loan. That is not a comfortable feeling. She is still writing a check every month while Chris is driving something brand new. But here's the difference that matters. Amber has a finish line. She can see it on the calendar. Every payment she makes moves her closer to owning this car outright. Every payment Chris makes moves him closer to returning the car and starting over. One of these paths has an end. The other one is a loop. Now let's talk about something the salesperson absolutely does not walk you through. When you sign a lease, the conditions buried in that contract that will cost you real money if your life doesn't stay perfectly consistent for the next 3 years. Mileage caps. The standard lease allowance in most contracts is 10,000 to 12,000 miles per year. According to the Federal Highway Administration, the average American driver covers approximately 14,200 miles annually. That means the average American driver is over their lease limit before the final year of their lease even begins. The overage charge is typically between 15 and 25 cents per mile. If you drive 6,000 miles over your limit across the 3-year term, you are looking at a bill between $900 and $2,500 waiting for you when you return the keys. You won't know about it until the final inspection. It just appears on your bill like a charge you never budgeted for. Wear and tear. When you return a leased vehicle, the dealership conducts a physical inspection. Every ding, every scratch, every stain, every wheel scuff gets documented. Now, what you consider completely normal use and what the leasing company considers billable damage are frequently two different standards, replaced by the leasing company, not by you. A small door dent from a parking lot, $200. A minor scuff on a wheel, $150. A stain on the rear seat, $175. These charges are real, they are common, and they are almost never factored into the monthly payment comparison people make when they first walk in. Disposition fees. This one surprises almost everyone. If you return your leased vehicle at the end of the contract and you do not lease another car from the same brand, most leasing agreements charge you a disposition fee. In 2024, these fees typically run between $350 and $595. You are literally paying the company a fee for the privilege of returning a car you never owned. It is built into the fine print, and most people discover it for the first time when they are closing out the lease. And if your circumstances change before the lease ends, job loss, relocation, growing family, anything that means you need out early, the exit cost can be enormous. Early termination penalties on leases frequently total the entire remaining payment balance. There is no simple solution. You are locked in, and the contract was designed that way. Let's get back to the math and look at where Chris and Amber actually stand at the 6-year mark. Chris has now completed 2 full 36-month leases. He has paid $2,500 down on the first lease, $11,184 in payments, $2,500 down on the second lease, and another $11,484 in payments. That's $27,168 in direct payments before any mileage overages, wear charges, or disposition fees. He owns nothing. Not a vehicle, not a title, not an asset of any kind. He has receipts and a current car he is renting. Amber finishes her loan at month 60. 3 years in, with 24 payments left, she hits the finish line. No more car payment. From that point forward, her monthly car-related costs are insurance, fuel, and maintenance. For a mid-sized sedan, realistic maintenance after warranty, oil changes, tires, brakes, the occasional repair runs somewhere between $100 and $160 per month on average, according to American Automotive Association's 2023 Your Driving Costs Study. So, for the final 12 months of the 6-year window, Amber's car cost her roughly $1,940 in maintenance instead of $6,944 in lease payments. Her total 6-year spend? Approximately $25,200 on the loan, plus roughly $2,500 in post-warranty maintenance. And she owns a car currently worth somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000. Chris spent more than Amber over 6 years, and he has nothing to show for it. That is the flip. It happens quietly, it happens in the background, and most people who are leasing never sit down and calculate the moment it occurs. Now let's be completely honest here, because if this was purely one-sided, it wouldn't be worth discussing. Buying a car has real costs that enthusiastic buyers tend to minimize. Once you're past the manufacturer warranty, which on most vehicles expires around year 3 or 4, you are fully responsible for repairs. And repairs are unpredictable. 1 year it's $200 in oil changes, and you feel like a genius. The next year, the water pump fails, the front brakes are gone, and you need two new tires, and you're looking at $2,200 in a single month. The unpredictability is psychologically real and financially significant. With a leased car, your costs are defined. With an owned car, they are not. Depreciation is also real and it is steep early. A new $32,000 car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the lot. By year 2, it's worth somewhere around $21,000. By year 5, it may be worth $13,000 to $14,000. That depreciation is a real cost whether you account for it or not. The counterpoint, and this matters, is that depreciation slows dramatically after the first few years. A 7-year-old car doesn't lose value the way a 2-year-old car does. The longer you hold a purchased vehicle past its initial steep depreciation curve, the more the math shifts in your favor. Time is quite literally the buyer's strongest advantage. Now let's look at the full 10-year picture. This is where the lifetime wealth gap becomes impossible to ignore. Over 10 years, Chris will have completed 3 full lease cycles, possibly starting a 4th. Each cycle costs approximately $13,000 to $14,500 in direct payments and fees. Add realistic mileage overages, as remember, the average American driver exceeds the standard cap, wear and tear charges and disposition fees across 3 separate leases, and Chris's realistic 10-year spend lands somewhere between $48,000 and $55,000. At the end of year 10, Chris has no vehicle equity. He is either mid-lease or returning to the dealership to start again. Amber paid $25,200 on her loan over 5 years. She then spent approximately $12,000 to $15,000 in maintenance and repairs over the following 5 years of ownership, using data from Consumer Reports' average annual maintenance costs for mid-size sedans held beyond warranty. Her total 10-year spend is roughly $37,000 to $40,000. And she has a vehicle in her driveway worth $4,000 to $7,000 that is fully paid for with zero monthly obligation. Amber spent between $10,000 and $18,000 less than Chris over 10 years. And she has an asset. Chris spent more and has nothing. Now multiply that across a lifetime. Most American adults will make this decision 4, 5, maybe 6 times between their mid-20s and their mid-60s. If someone habitually leases every vehicle across their adult life versus someone who habitually buys and holds, the cumulative wealth difference is not thousands of dollars. According to projections modeled on current average lease and loan terms, it is realistically between $80,000 and $120,000 over a lifetime, depending on vehicle choices, holding periods, and maintenance outcomes. That is not a rounding error. That is a retirement contribution. That is a down payment on a house. That is real money. Here's the honest exception, though, because there are genuine situations where leasing wins and pretending otherwise would be misleading. If you are self-employed or own a business and you use a vehicle for business purposes, lease payments can be partially or fully deductible depending on your business use percentage and your tax situation. That tax advantage can be significant enough to genuinely close or reverse the ownership gap. This is a real conversation worth having with a tax professional if it applies to you. Leasing a high-end vehicle, something German, something with notoriously expensive out-of-warranty service, is also a legitimately different calculation. When routine maintenance on a vehicle is $800 and a single brake job is $4,500, staying inside the warranty window permanently has quantifiable dollar value. Leasing an entry-level luxury sedan is a very different financial decision than leasing a mid-size family car. And theoretically, if you take the $243 per month that Chris saves on his payment compared to Amber, and you invest that difference consistently into a low-cost index fund, averaging 8% annually over 10 years, you could generate approximately $44,000. That would more than close the gap. But that requires actually doing it every month for 10 years without exception. The data on whether people actually do this is not encouraging. Be genuinely honest with yourself about your own financial behavior before using this as your justification for leasing. So here is where we land after all of it. Chris and Amber walked into the same dealership on the same day, looked at the same car, and made 2 different decisions. Chris optimized for the monthly number. Amber thought past it. By month 36, Chris looked like the smart one. By year 6, the math had quietly reversed. By year 10, amber is ahead by a number that would legitimately change someone's financial life if they understood it before making the decision instead of after. The car dealership will always show you the monthly payment first. It is on the commercial. It is on the website. It is the number on the little card the salesperson slides across the desk. That number is designed to feel manageable. It is not designed to show you the full picture. The full picture is what this takes from you when it is all said and done. Not per month, not per year, but across the entire time you are in that vehicle and through every vehicle decision that follows. The next time you are sitting across from a salesperson and that monthly number appears in front of you and it looks almost reasonable, ask yourself one question before you sign anything. What does this actually cost me when it is completely over? Because that is the only number that was ever worth calculating, and most people never calculate it until it is already too late to matter. Dear viewer, if you found value in this video, like it and share it with friends and family. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell icon so that you will be notified every time we upload a new video. Thank you for watching until the end. We will see you in our next video. Until then, stay safe and stay blessed.